This quick tutorial is going to go over rendering textures onto your pieces. So if that's something that you're interested in, keep watching. All you really need to do is have your base colors down and your form shadow down and a small collection of texture like brushes. What I mean by that, I've put examples here. These are the brushes I'm going to go through in this tutorial. But basically all I mean is just brushes that have texture already applied to them. I'm sure you have plenty of these already at your disposal that you could use for what I'm going to be doing in this video. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer on top of this base layer, which again is just this solid color that I picked, that I added some quick shadow to, and I'm going to clip this down. All I'm going to be using for this outside of these texture brushes is the black and white default swatches and soft light as my layer mode. The first brush that I had laid down for this was this gold one. I'm just going to go over it. I'm just going to switch to white now and go over it. You can see that this is giving it a kind of cloudy texture. It kind of looks a bit more like cement now. Switch brushes to the second brush I had as the example, which is this one. Again, I'm just going to go over it lightly. You can see that this one is picking up on the light and the shadow from underneath it. Third brush I had selected was just my leather. If you're a patron of mine, by the way, you have all of these brushes already. You already know that. They're all in the folders and organized the exact same way. See, painting over this, it's looking pretty good. It's giving the highlights, and it's got the gaps to see the color underneath it. So those gaps in the brush really help the believability of the texture because it looks like it's giving it extra depth. And I've got the scale brush and I've got this, but I'm going to actually use these brushes with a different feature. So let's start with the water one that I had grabbed. This is how you would go about making cracks or dents in something. So as you can see, kind of underwhelming. It doesn't really look like a crack or a dent because it doesn't have any depth to it. So what you can actually do in Photoshop is use the bevel and emboss tool. This is going to create an extra sense of depth to your brushes, which is going to help sell the fact that they are a texture. You have this is your light source. I think I've probably gone over this in other videos. You can adjust where your light source is coming from this menu. Nothing about this is magic. It's not AI. It's been in Photoshop for ages. But this is the menu that you use to set up the default effects that Photoshop comes with. The default effects are pretty bad, so I understand why people don't really use those. But the option to be able to set up defaults to quickly just click and apply to brushes, especially when it comes to texturing materials, is fantastic with this tool. You can adjust the depth, blah, blah, blah. You can adjust a lot of things. So to basically break down what this menu does for you is it's creating two other layers for you attached to your layer. And this is a light layer and a shadow layer. And these are duplicate versions of your original layer. So if I were to turn off the effects real quick, this would be 3 layers of this basically. Your light layer is set to color dodge and it's skewed up a little higher to give you highlighted rims. And the shadow layer, it was set to whatever the crap it was set to. I don't remember. I think it was color burn. Yeah, it was set to color burn. and it was just skewed down a little more to give you the really dark creases. So that's basically all of the magic that this is doing for you. It's just creating a light layer and a shadow layer and easily attaching it to this so you can stack effects and create depth on what you have on the layer. So knowing that if this is something that you wanted to do in Clip Studio or any other program, just set it up like that and you will be able to. It's just a lot faster and a lot easier to do it in Photoshop, which is why I prefer Photoshop. You can use this for all kinds of things in terms of texturing. It's great. You can use it with all kinds of brushes. See, that just looks like rock now, and it's just this brush. And now you've got some pretty decent rock that you could use. It'll really help push your textures, and it takes 2 seconds to do. Again, how you fine tune it is going to make a difference. What modes you have selected down here is going to make a difference. It's really going to take some effort on your part to better familiarize yourself with what you're doing, but that's basically all that you need to know or to set stuff up like this. I tend to use this a lot too for leather if I'm doing areas that are like areas of destruction or points that are worn. I will use something like that, but that's going to better give the effect that chunks of it are missing. You also have the type of interaction with the light that you want it to have in this menu here. So if you needed to change the type of interaction, you do it by this drop down here. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. One other way that you can use this is with the texture option just directly on top of your base. And this is going to help give you more believable fabrics. Again, you can change the depth to whatever you want it to be. You can change how you want the light to be. If you want it to not be on color dodge, you can change it to soft light. Honestly, for fabrics and stuff, soft light tends to work a lot better. So I would suggest changing it to that. This isn't really going to matter much because it's going to be applying itself to this texture. So the scale here and the depth here is what's going to matter a lot more in this case. That looks like a very rough fabric because it's so high. But these are all just default Photoshop fabrics that come in the program. This is how I made like some jean fabric and stuff. Some of my other pieces. But that is basically it. It's super easy and super fast to just apply textures to bases. As soon as you have your bases done, you can do a lot of different types of things. And now you know how to. So that's it for this video. Later.